computer. So hey guys, how you doing? Here we are, post technological trauma, and we've made our way back. And although we usually do these things as a live stream, what we're going to do is we're going to feed it up to Facebook later. For now, it's a Zoom, and here I am with my good friend Jordan Adler, who is.
Hey, Steve.
Hey man, it's so good to see you. And you're squirreled away somewhere interesting, aren't you? Up in the mountains.
Yeah, I've got a home for 20 years in a little ghost town called Jerome. It's probably the most famous ghost town in the States, and it was a ghost town for many years, 70 years. It was a bustling mining town in the early 1800s, late 1800s,
Right.
and then it became a bustling tourist town, and now it's a ghost town again.
So when you say ghost town, you don't mean there are ghosts there. You mean there's nobody there.
Right now, the only people that are here are the residents, and there's about 500 of us.
Wow.
Usually there's a lot of tourists, but there's no tourists right now.
Oh, that's cool. So it's pretty charming and kind of quaint and away from the beaten path.
Storybook town. It's great little town.
Yeah, I got to say, being where I am also, I'm here in Burlington, Vermont, and, if you were to look out that window, if I open up the shades, you'd be looking at Lake Champlain in the mountains. And
wow, I love it.
It's beautiful, and I mean, I just appreciate nature. So, and, as I'm sure you do too, this is one of the few things that, if anybody can get out in nature for just, an hour a day, a half hour a day, whatever, it's such a replenishing thing during times like these.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's beautiful up here. I used to hang glide up here for many years on this mountain.
Really? Wow.
And that was the reason. That's what attracted me to this place originally, because we'd go hang gliding and then come down into town and have lunch. And so my initial thought was to live here and be able to hang glide, but then I gave up hang gliding about the time I got here.
I can relate to that. I moved to Vermont to ski, and I did it quite a bit for the first few years, and then I kind of got tired of it, and now I don't ski anymore. Maybe once in a while I'll do it again, but I've become a fair weather skier. So it used to be when I was growing up on Long Island, you'd wake up on, at the crack of dawn and get your gear together and take a bus like 3-4 hours up to the ski slopes and put in, a full day and then ride the bus back again and get home late at night. And it didn't matter what the conditions were. You would do it no matter what. And then I got to here where I was like, a half hour away from the ski slopes, and I'd be like, no, it's like, I'm not going to go out and do that anymore.
I hear you. Yeah.
So what's going on?
Congratulations on your new book.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, Bulletproof. I'm super excited about this. I'm letting people know there's two exciting things. One is we have a website up right now where you can get a free digital download of the first chapter. So just to give people a sense of what the book is about, to decide for themselves if they want it. And if any of you want to get it, just go to bestofsteve.com. That's where that is.
Yeah, good stuff.
And then tomorrow we're doing a little bit of a blast. And so we've got a sale tomorrow. If you want to buy the Kindle book, you can go to Amazon and get it for 99 cents. So tomorrow's the day, baby. What day is tomorrow? Tomorrow's going to be Saturday, April, 18th, 19th?
Do you do all that yourself, or do you have a publisher that does it?
Well, I've done the vast majority. So the book itself, of course, I wrote it and I farmed it out to an editor. And you know how editors are. They're very good at finding most of the problems, but nobody ever finds all the problems. So they give it back to you, and you find the editor's mistakes. And,
exactly.
Right? And then you give it to your father, and he goes through and he'll find 5 more of them. And then you give it back to the editor. They give it to the proofreader. They find a few more mistakes. Then they finally print the book, and you get it home again, and you're like, how did that get in there?
Yeah.
Still find a mistake, but yeah, it's a team approach, and then the cover, which I think is awesome. I love this cover.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's
lovely.
Great.
It was designed by Brad Zales, who, I don't know if you know Brad. He's a really cool dude. He used to be kind of one of the guys from the .com era and made a mint in the .com, and now he's a speaker. And he primarily talks about the intergenerational issue, like how you as a baby boomer can relate to millennials or Gen X's or whatever. And so he wrote a book called Liquid Leadership. It was a bestseller, and it's a good book about that, communicating across generational lines. But he's
interesting. Yeah.
And he laid out the book, the inside of the book, and he did the cover, and he did a really good job.
Yeah, good job.
Yeah.
Nice.
So you have got a book coming out too, don't you?
I do. I published my second book, Better Than Beach Money, about a year ago,
Yeah.
and then my publisher came to me and had an idea I've got a following around the world of people that follow Beach Money and have used Beach Money to grow their businesses, and so he said, why don't we contact some of those people and ask them if they'd write a chapter in a book and make them an author, people that maybe haven't been authors before, and that have great stories. And so we compiled 24 of some of the best stories around the world and put them in a book, and it's called Momentum Makers. And that should be out in the next few weeks. I don't have an exact date yet. We just got the cover design back and really excited about it. Some great stories, really inspirational, exciting stories that help anybody who's like a budding entrepreneur really believe what's possible. It's a good book.
Yeah.
And there's actually going to be it's a series of books. We actually have four books that are in the works right now. And
or the same 24 more stories from
two compilation books with different authors, and then we've got actually the four of the two. One of them is going to be on branding, and one of them is going to be on building a business as a couple.
Wow.
So those are in the works right now. We've got quite a few contributors to all of the books.
Oh, that's fabulous. I mean, there's certainly a great need for people to understand how to interact with their spouse in a business without driving each other crazy.
Exactly. And also I'm excited because these are all Beach Money publication books. So we've launched a publishing company called Beach Money Publications.
Oh, that's awesome.
And all of these will be under that umbrella.
So are all the books, it sounds like these books will ultimately speak to entrepreneurs of all sorts, not just network marketers.
True. It's really any entrepreneur will get inspired by the stories, but there are a lot of network marketers in the books.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so many lessons within network marketing about entrepreneurship. So, somebody who's a good network marketer is likely to be a good entrepreneur, or at least they've got a leg up on what entrepreneurship is.
Absolutely.
I think what a lot of entrepreneurs fail to do, if they haven't had any kind of structure before, is they end up not knowing how to scale, not knowing how to organize their time. Whereas if you're coming from network marketing, you've been in an environment where there is a structure. And I think that helps you move on.
Yeah, and all the principles of building any business, having dreams and being able to work through the obstacles and overcoming your fears and being able to, handle the setbacks. All those things that go into building any business it's just a different business model, but the principles for doing it are the same. You have to carry a certain set of values and beliefs to move through all the challenges that come with starting any business, and then putting a lot of work in the beginning to make very little money, to make a whole lot of money later for doing very little work if you built your business right.
Yeah, it's the ability and willingness to hold a vision that, because and I talk a lot about this lately, is that painting your picture, I call it. You've got to be able to paint your picture and have a clear sense of where you're headed, because if all you're doing is focusing on what's happening now, and what's happening now isn't very satisfying, then you're going to burn yourself out and you're not going to keep going.
Yeah. And I think being an entrepreneur, there's a lot of things you have to do to get there, to get to your ultimate destination, whatever you're looking to do. You got to enjoy the process, but also there are lots of things that maybe you don't feel like doing that you got to do in order to move through whatever you need to get through to get to your ultimate goal. If you've got a mission or a crusade, something you're trying to accomplish or achieve, a movement, something you're trying to create, there are multiple things. Like I'm sure you're familiar with the E-Myth.
Yes.
Right? Is it Michael Gerber that wrote that?
Gerber, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And he talks about, somebody who has something that they're passionate about, and they get involved in whatever it is they're doing because they're passionate about it. And then as they begin to build their business, they find out that they're doing a lot of the things that they really didn't sign up for. Like it's the carpenter that wants to build cabinets, but he doesn't want to do the books, and he doesn't want to have to market, and he doesn't want to handle the insurance and the legal and all that, but he finds himself in that situation. Mm-hmm. And in building any business, especially in the early stages where you don't really have necessarily the resources to hire other people. If you're starting a small business, a lot of times you find yourself where you're like, I've got to do all these things that I don't really want to do, but I got to do them if I want to get through it.
Yeah.
I want to create. Yeah.
That's the tough thing. And then, what I've found is there are always people out there who are ready, willing, and able to try to teach you how to do all those other little things. And then you end up getting pulled into coaching programs there. And what you find,
I didn't want to build funnels. I didn't want to have to build funnels. I just wanted to,
Yeah. Yeah. And ultimately, you finally get around to where, you try to do what you do best and find other people who do what they do best.
Exactly.
And then it's a comfortable arrangement. And I'm saying that having just spent half the afternoon building a landing page for my book. So yeah, I mean, one of the funny things about being in the situation we're in right now is that, I do have the time to take on a project. Right. So this is something I might have delegated, and I thought about delegating. I thought, well, I think maybe I'll tinker a little bit. And
well, you have the time. Yeah. You can take on that kind of thing now more so than maybe a couple of months ago. A lot of us are in a little bit different situation right now.
So what?
I know for me, I was spending a lot of time. Like I was on an airplane every week, sometimes multiple times a week. I would sometimes do 2 round trips in 1 week, and that's been going on for many years. I just travel and I do a lot for personal and business. I travel to Phoenix once a week for a networking meeting, and I usually go there and back the same day. And all of a sudden, I went from being on an airplane every 4 days to being at home now for extended length of time. And my nervous system really doesn't know what to do with that.
So
I find myself most of the time I'm pretty good because I'm a little bit of a loner, and I love being up in the mountains like this, and it's peaceful, and I like waking up to the birds, and I can hear I sleep with the windows open, and I can hear the birds in the morning, and the sunlight shines in, and that's all real nice, and I can light some incense and do some yoga in the morning, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But then throughout the course of the day, and everybody's processing this different. I'll go through waves of anxiety, not really knowing exactly where it's coming from. Possibly the uncertainty, possibly my nervous system is wired to be in a different city every 4 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, some of it's inertia. It's almost like, there's kind of an energy to move forward. And if there's nothing to move forward toward, there's a part of you saying, what do I do next? What am I supposed to do? I mean, that's my, anyway, I've gradually dampened that down. So now I feel like I'm more comfortable with periods of emptiness. I don't have as hard.
As time goes by, we develop new patterns of the way that we live our lives. Yeah. And but the thing right now that's going on more than anything is that for the first time in any of our lives, and this applies to most everybody, we've all been forced out of our comfort zones. Like everybody was at some level in a comfort zone, even if we were stretching and growing, we were still in a comfort zone there. But now all of a sudden we're all forced in a situation where we've got to do things completely differently. And then there's that big question mark that a lot of people have in that, 2 months from now, 3 months from now, what's the world going to look like? Will I have a job? Will I have a business? Will my business be able to survive this? And so there's a lot of people that are just really don't know what the future looks like. And that creates a lot of stress, and discomfort. And it's hard to plan your life. We're so used to controlling everything. It's so hard to plan your life when you don't know what things are going to look like in 4 or 5 months, where we're going to be as an economy. And also what's going to happen when we start opening up businesses, So there's just a lot of question marks that people have.
Yeah.
And I suspect there'll be millions of miracles that'll come from this. There'll definitely be hundreds of thousands of books. All the medical professionals and the politicians and the normal, average, everyday people that were just going about their lives that now have just fantastic stories that came out of this.
Right.
Will be writing books. So
well, it's also like such a time of potential ideas, right? Ideas flourish in the silence, right? When you're not busy doing your day-to-day thing, it's when you interrupt the flow that ideas kind of burgeon up. And I remember hearing that, and I wrote this in one of my blogs, that Sir Isaac Newton, created his whole system of physics when he was in quarantine from the plague.
I think I read that or heard that somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild. Yeah. Yeah. I haven't had my flash of inspiration over the past month or so, but you never know, right?
It'll happen. Yeah, it'll come out just when it's supposed to. But it is an interesting time, and I'm curious from your point of view, like what are some of the positives that you anticipate having coming out of this, or that you've already seen?
Well, I think the thing that really strikes me the most is that there's no question, and I've seen this over and over again in my life personally, but it applies to a society as well, is that, you know, the greatest opportunities come in during the times of greatest challenge. They emerge from the times of greatest challenge. You know, the story of the Phoenix bird.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. We're going to see that. We probably don't see it too much yet, but the many, many miracles will come from the biggest challenges that people have during this time. You know, there's so much. You think about people that have elderly parents. Are your parents alive?
My dad is alive. Yeah, he just turned 86 the other day.
What's that?
He just turned 86 a couple days ago.
And where is he?
He's down in Virginia, and he's healthy. He lives on like a gated golf community. He's in a really nice place. But they've seen, I mean, the disease has hit his community.
Yeah. So, you know, I start thinking about, and I've experienced this with friends of mine that have elderly parents that can't see their grandkids, they can't see their kids, and some of them are in nursing homes where they don't have access to the technology, so they can't even FaceTime, you know. Yeah. And then you start asking them, then they start asking themselves, you know, are we ever going to see him again? You know, this time is moving along. You know, it's an interesting time. But as far as the question you asked me, I think there'll just be a lot of unbelievable, miraculous stories that will come from this, and also new innovations, like you said, things that'll emerge.
I think we're going to see a lot of sort of chicken soup for the soul kind of stories come out of this because of the kindness. Right? Aren't you seeing that? Like people are really expressing kindness and generosity. They're going out of their way because for the first time ever in history, everybody in the world is being equally touched by the same thing, and we can communicate about it. Right? I mean, there was when we had the Black Plague, same issue, but you weren't talking to somebody halfway across the world about it.
Well, it's questionable whether we can communicate about it in some of these Facebook threads, to be honest. But no, I get you.
Yeah, I mean,
we all have. There's definitely a commonality in a thread.
Yeah.
I always thought, you know, with all the political fighting that's been going on, I always thought that the only thing that would ever bring us all together would be like an alien attack. If some other planet attacked the Earth, then we would all come together. But essentially, that's kind of what's happened, and it's still there's still a little bit of divisiveness going on because everybody views things a little differently.
That's true.
So,
that's true.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny? The crisis does bring out the good in the good and the bad in the bad.
Yeah. Today I went down to I drove down the mountain to go shopping. I haven't been shopping for groceries in over a week. And I came out, I don't know if you saw this on Facebook, I posted it. And there was a guy sitting on a picnic table right by the Safeway grocery store. And he smiled. He was wearing a hat and he smiled and said hi. And I said hi back and I unloaded my groceries. And he came around and told me he was a Vietnam vet and asked if he could return my shopping cart for me. And I said, sure. And I gave him $5. And then I asked him if I could do a selfie. And I broke the social distancing rule, and I took a selfie with him. And, you know, I thought to myself, you know, here's a guy that's not waiting around for his stimulus money. He was friendly. He offered to provide a service for me. I gave him $5 for helping me out. And I just had a lot of respect for that, you know, that the guy's not just sitting at home waiting for the government to help him.
That's awesome. And, you know, and every one of us could learn from that experience, right? We could all like look at our lives and say, what can I do? You know, how can I make a living? I think some people are afraid it's not good when things are bad for me to try to make a living because it's, you know, in bad form or something. But I don't think that's true. I think we want to solve problems. This guy was trying to solve a problem, right? He's trying to help you with something.
Yeah.
that'll stimulate the economy, is if everybody sort of stays motivated to do their part and to be compensated for it. And that's how the economy will grow back up again.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a friend that was, that posted something. He was complaining that he was he was at home waiting for his $1,200 stimulus check. I'm like, dude, you're going to get your stimulus check or not.
Yeah.
I don't know, but why not, instead of waiting at home, why sit at home and wait? Why not do something that's going to make other people's lives better? You know,
there certainly are enough people around who could use that value. There was, I live in a condo complex, and the management team just put out a thing saying this particular woman who lives in one of the units will volunteer to do anything that anybody needs, walk your dog, do the shopping or whatever. And I thought, and now when I hear that, I instantly think that's a great idea. I wish I thought of it. Let me throw my hat in the ring too. Right.
Sure.
And it's just that idea that it's like a pebble in the pond. Kindness breeds kindness.
Yeah.
Right. So now I'm thinking, like, what can I do to help? Like, how can I be helpful? And hopefully people watching this would then think, yeah, how can I be helpful? What could I do to make a difference? And what's that going to do to my mindset if I know that I'm actually helping to forward things?
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, man. Really
There's
cool.
I think things are going to look differently when this all settles out in terms of the way we do business.
Mm-hmm.
There'll be a lot of I think there's going to be a lot of people that will rethink the way they structure their businesses. I know our company, we moved 92 employees home.
Right.
So all of our executives are working from home. All of our customer service are answering calls from home. We've got only 9 employees in our office space, and we're doing better than we were before this crisis.
Yeah.
And I know that our executives are thinking about, how could we maybe re-engineer the way that we structure because we're spending money on commercial space that maybe we don't need.
Yeah. Yeah. Tim Ferriss, right? From the 4-Hour Work Week. And when he describes this process of eventually extricating yourself from like the heaviness of the way we usually do business, where you go, you commute to work an hour to 2 hours, and you get there, you work like a 9-hour day, and you commute 2 hours home. And he talks about essentially convincing your boss that you'll be more efficient from home than you would be at work, right? And the way you convince your boss of that is you say, let me just try it 1 day a week. And then 1 day a week, you go home and you crush it, right? You do like 10 times more work than you would have done at work because it's true. There's 4 hours of commuting time that you could have gotten your work done during. There's all the time that you're not being interrupted by people coming into your office and asking you questions, right? And then there's a natural tendency to kind of slug along when there's like a lot of things to distract you. So people are more efficient at home. And I think that this is going to be, we're being forced to recognize that, which is going to actually improve the economy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe not.
What do you think the economy is going to look like in 6 months?
6 months, it's still going to be messy. We're going to still be having a hard time because people aren't going to immediately go back to their old behaviors. I don't think that 6 months from now, not everybody's going to feel comfortable enough to get out in public and do their shopping in the store or go to movies or restaurants and things like that. But I think all of that will start to come back. Then there's the issue of all the companies that folded because they couldn't wait until everything came back again. We've got restaurants right here in Burlington that are shutting down and thinking we're not coming back.
So let's say, because let's say 4 months from now, a third of the population is just still too afraid to go out.
Yeah.
And a third of the population is being really cautious. And then you got a third of the population that really doesn't care. And they're just going to go no matter what, they're going to go. But then you've got these restaurants and businesses that have to be able to operate on a third of the revenue or half the revenue that they're used to. And how do you make a profit? How do you plan for, they're going to have to do business differently if they're going to survive.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's why, again, as you said, necessity is the mother of invention. Like, now people are going to be forced to look at things differently, to invent more efficient systems, find out how to operate in a leaner way without as much manpower, maybe. And then people who are not in the workforce the way they were before, you might be forced to start thinking entrepreneurially and figure out like, what can I do? What problems can I solve? And maybe the
So
people.
what's your use? If next week everything were to open under the current circumstances, right now everything were to open,
Right.
would you go out? Would you go eat at restaurants right now?
No,
No.
no, I don't like. I think that's crazy because the just because you open it up, just because it gets the government's blessing, doesn't mean that the coronavirus is behaving any differently. And social distancing is still a good idea. I mean, it's still what dissipates the spread. This is a very contagious disease, right? A lot of people, every one person on average gives it to 2.5 other people. And that's, what happens when you start letting crowds gather, right? And nobody really knows if they have it or not until they're really symptomatic. So
Right.
places like New Orleans were, suffered so badly, or Georgia, because like a lot of the mega churches were still holding services and gathering people together. And it's not advisable health-wise. What about you?
Right.
You're thinking about that.
I'm probably more, I'd be more, well, a couple things. One is I think I've already had it.
Okay.
Before it was being talked about in the press. I travel all over the world, and I've been around a lot of people from other parts of the world, including Italy and Spain and France. I was with people at Necker Island that had just recently been there.
Right.
And then I came back and I got super sick and had to cancel everything, and I couldn't get out of bed, and I lost 15 pounds, and then I coughed to the point that I thought my ribs were going to break, and that lasted for weeks. And so and there's a part of me that, like, I'm wired in such a way, the way that I think about it is that I'd probably just go back to doing my life the way.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid of death. I'm not afraid of getting really sick.
Mm-hmm.
And I probably would just go back to living my life fully and enjoying it.
Okay. Yeah. One of the things that you bring up the question of being afraid of death or not, I feel the same way. I feel like, I'm not, it doesn't scare me. It doesn't, like, if this happens, if I get this, if I go down that path, I don't feel like I'd feel ripped off or anything like that. I feel like, I've had a wonderful life.
Yeah.
Right?
So have I. Yeah. Yes, you have.
I really have, man. And, and I've got, I feel like all the things that I wish for in a life, have I made an impact? Have I inspired others? Have I made good friends? Have I eased pain? Like, all those things are there, right? And if it's my time, it's my time, right? I'm not going to add insult to injury and feel despondent if I end up going down that path. I still want to take measures. I'm not going to go out and be foolish about it, but at the same time, it's like, I'm okay. It's like, what the Buddhists call equanimity, having equanimity, which is it's all good.
Assuming that this isn't going to go away.
Yeah.
Let's assume that it's not going to go away. How long is it okay to keep everybody 6 feet apart and in their homes forever?
No, well, I mean, that's a big.
At what point? I mean, if it's forever, which a lot of the scientists are saying it is.
Yeah.
Is it a year, 2 years, 3 years? Maybe have the government send everybody $2,000 a month for the next 2 years and to stay at home.
No.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, I think about that. It's like, how much time is okay?
Yeah.
Before it's too much.
I think what we do is we tiptoe toward whatever normalcy we could possibly have, right? So it's like, okay, so maybe the first step is I make sure I'm wearing a mask and gloves if I'm going to be out closer to people, or maybe, you play with it a little bit, right? I mean, I'm hoping that that's not, that the scenario you've painted is not the scenario we're actually facing.
I know. And
that this will, run its course.
The truth is, we'll probably find some type of a solution, whether it be some type of a medication that can suppress it, or a vaccine when that comes out. But that's probably what will be more likely to happen.
Yeah.
But the doctors are saying it could be around forever, and it could come back every year. We're going to have to come up with a solution to that, because otherwise we're stuck in our homes for the rest of our lives.
Yeah. No, you're right in that. I'm not going to do that.
So I don't know.
Interesting question. Well, listen, man, I'd love to keep you on for another hour, but I want to be respectful of your time and also the people watching this. And I've been trying to keep these down to, 20, 25 minutes. I'm sure we've gone over, but, you and I,
Yeah.
when we talk, it's like we roll along, and I love talking to you, man.
Thanks, you too.
Let me ask you this before we run. You are a very successful person. You are somebody that people would like to emulate and learn from. And I'm curious: is there any way, if people want to know more about you, if they want to kind of join your world or anything, like if they want to know Beach Money, what should people do if they want to kind of get the Jordan?
Well, they can follow me on Instagram. I'm just Beach Money Jordan on Instagram. Beach Money Jordan. And they can email me at beachmoneyjordan@gmail.com.
Okay, cool.
Or just Google me. I'm easy to find.
Yeah, you're out there. Sure.
I'd love to.
Go on.
Go ahead. No, I've got hundreds of YouTube videos out there, just like you, Steve. And I'm always looking for ways to, to help others achieve what they want. Help them achieve their dreams. I'm a dream broker.
You are indeed. And I'll tell you what, to me, that's what makes you successful. I mean, it's such a great model of what success is that, your degree of generosity, your degree of willingness to be of service is proportional to the success you've enjoyed. And, you seem to have an amazing attitude. It's always been really fun, hanging out with you. You're not weighted down. And I'm also guessing, I mean, tell me if this is true. Just as a quick final thing, I guess, like, I don't feel like you're attached to your stuff. I mean, you've got stuff, but like, if I said to you, listen, Jordan, you're going to have to like live in a shoebox for the next year or something like that. I mean,
I'd be heartbroken for a couple weeks.
For a couple of weeks. Okay.
No, I love my life, and it's been an invention. It's been a creation that anyone has access to.
Yeah.
As you know, I mean, that's what you teach.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you can't take it with you. And it's our playground. It's just like, it's what we, we all have dreams. A lot of times people have kind of like started rationalizing their dreams away as they get older. They start thinking, I could never have my dreams. So then they stop believing they're possible. But I've always been one to dream beyond what I believe is possible, and then focus on those things, but not be attached to them. And then looking for ways to serve, and continue to look for ways to serve at a higher level. And your dreams are just a manifestation of how well you do at solving other people's problems, really.
Wow. Well, that's a great note to end this on. It was, that's just such powerful stuff. It's like the detachment, the vision, the optimism, the giving. It's all like, it's a great formula.
Thanks.
Jordan,
I learned it from you, Steve. Actually,
you keep teaching and reteaching each other again and again. I'm going to say, you can stick with me for a couple minutes, Jordan, after I sign us off. But I just want to say goodbye to everybody and thank you all for tuning in. We'll catch you again soon. And again, visit Jordan when you get a chance. That's on
Beach Money Jordan.
Or Beach Money Jordan, or like he said, Google him, you'll find him. All right. And if you would, check out my book, Bulletproof. Just go to bestofsteve.com if you want to get a free digital download of the first chapter of the book and see if you like it. Talk to you guys later. Take care.